So the very first sentence in this section says, most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. Let me just read that again. Most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. That's that false sense of security. That's what I wrote down. False sense of security. Hello, welcome to my channel, Define Deshay. My name is Deshay, and I am a mindset coach who is backed by faith. Now, the reason why my channel is called Define Deshay is because I am actively defining who I am meant to be. And my hope is to inspire you to define and discover who you are meant to be as well. Now, this week is going to be a fun week. This is going to be a fun video only because I am starting to read The Artist's Way. And the funny part about it is that I started this book back in February. I wrote my contract and everything, and I was really pumped to start the discovering and recovering myself process. But as life happens, I got through the first 3 weeks and then I stopped. I wasn't consistent, but the one thing that I have learned is that when you are meant to do something, you can do it. So right now I'm starting it back up. I'm being more consistent, I'm being more intentional, and with this video we are going to dive into the first week. So this is going to be a series. This is a 12-week process, so this is week 1, and we're going to keep moving through it as we go. So the first week is about recovering a sense of safety. And we are going to dive into the 4 main areas that are represented in the book. So we're going to discuss the shadow artist, protecting your artist child within, your negative beliefs, and then affirmative weapons. So I'm going to just dissect this week and give my interpretation on how this book has translated in my life and what I've received from reading it. So let's go ahead and start. So, shadow artist. Now, the first thing that I ended up highlighting in this book says, very often audacity, not talent, makes one person an artist and another a shadow artist. So having the courage to do something is more powerful than having the talent to do something. We get in our own heads. We prevent ourselves. It's that audacity of doing it no matter what, because you can, instead of allowing that fear to creep in and stop you from truly propelling. So starting out the chapter strong with that phrase, just the audacity, having the ability to do something, not because you have the talent, just because you did it. So then that kind of leads me into the next section that I ended up highlighting. And it said that with shadow artists specifically, intended artists may become artist managers and derive a great deal of secondary pleasure from serving their dream even at one remove. And I'm gonna be honest, this one slapped me in the face. I currently work as a graphic design manager, only because I do find enjoyment in mentoring and teaching and providing that guidance in the artistic realm. But it was just shocking that as shadow artists, your first instinct is to inspire and help others reach their dreams, reach their goals, and put your own in the back burner. You would rather prioritize and be the outward lens of seeing them grow and prosper in their dreams and their aspirations instead of focusing on your own. So that hit home. How many times, or is there a time in your life where you've hit a point where you're like, my dream isn't going to come true, so I would rather put my time and energy in making someone else's dream come true? If that's happened to you, go ahead and put it in the comments, because that is something that we have to get out of. There's nothing wrong with supporting others and their dreams and their aspirations, but you have to support yourself first. You have to get yourself to that next level, because you deserve it. You deserve it, and that's a big thing. So in this chapter, it also talked about what kind of prevents a shadow artist from actually pursuing their dreams. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that shadow artists judge themselves harshly, beating themselves for years after the fact that they have not acted on their dreams. Now, tell me I'm not the only one who's experienced that. Beating yourself up because you have not acted on your dream. You feel like you were just wasting time. You see all the people around you hitting these next levels, and you're looking at your life like, what have I been doing? But the one thing that I've found security in is knowing that God's timing is perfect timing. That even though I might have wanted my life to end up a certain way, it's going exactly how it's supposed to. There are so many lessons that I had to learn to even get me prepared for the blessings that are coming. So you can't hold so much weight on your shoulders. Everything is preparing you for what's to come. And who's to say that if you receive the life that you want back then, that you would have really appreciated it, that you would have really valued the work and the passion that took for you to get to that level. So know that you are exactly where you are meant to be. And perfect timing is what God has in store for us. So that is something that really, really struck me while I was kind of reading through this chapter. And the next section that really hit, especially with the shadow artist, is that shadow artists must learn to take themselves seriously. Do it for yourself. This is what I wrote. Do it for yourself. You have to do it for you, even when you don't have the support. So as you are stepping into a new field, you want to be a content creator, you want to be an artist, you want to sell real estate, you want to do anything. When you are stepping outside of your initial path, outside of the identity that people have labeled you as, you're probably not going to get the support that you initially wanted, because they can't see it for you, but you can see it. God can see it, especially if He's put that on your heart. So you have to be your biggest supporter. You have to encourage yourself to keep moving forward because it was put on your heart to achieve. So you have to take yourself seriously. Even if you have only posted one video of content, you still label yourself as a content creator. Even if you have not coached anybody, you still label yourself as a coach. If you haven't even made your first painting yet, you still label yourself as a painter. Take yourself seriously. Put yourself in environments where you are surrounded by people, like-minded people who are in the areas, the realms that you are trying to be in. You have to see it for yourselves and take it seriously. And when you start to take yourself seriously, you also have to acknowledge that you are a beginner. We don't give ourselves enough grace. We don't allow ourselves to start something and realize that when we start, we're not going to be good at it. Think back to, well, if you can think back, hypothetically, think back to when you were a child. When you were born, did you know how to walk? No, but you started to crawl. Then you gradually started to pick yourself up. Then you start taking baby steps. Sometimes you would fall, but what did you do? You got right back up and you started one step, the next step, and then you were able to walk. And now it's just natural. The same concept could go for learning to drive. Before you know how to drive, you don't know how to operate this machine. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to navigate the highways, read the street signs, none of that. But it's all about a learning process. You start out as a beginner, and while you're doing the action, you are able to learn and grow. We get so caught up in believing that we need to do so much research, so much digging into details before we actually start. But when you are a beginner, it starts with action. You can plan, you can prep all you want, but until you actually start doing it, you aren't going to truly grow. So allow yourself to be a beginner and know that while you're in the beginning stage, that is where you need to have the most protection over yourself. Because you have to be aware that comparison will start popping up. Ooh, and that's a dangerous one. And judgment of others, because they don't understand that you're a beginner. You know you're a beginner, but they will see what everybody else is doing and start pointing that out to you. And then you start comparing yourself to somebody else's level 20 when you're on level 1. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to be aware of when the mindset of comparison and judgment creeps in, because it will creep in. But you have to stay aligned with, I am learning, I am growing, and I'm moving exactly where I need to go. So this is all within the section about the shadow artist, and I'm not even done. That's the crazy part. I'm not even done. So the next section in this shadow artist section, actually, let me take a step back. This is actually the section about protecting the artist child within. Let me go ahead and take a step back. I was getting a little bit too into it. So when I had mentioned about the shadow artist must learn to take themselves seriously, that was encompassing about the shadow artist. But protecting the artist child within, that's when you have to allow yourself to be a beginner. I see these sections as a connected joint unit, because you have to take yourself seriously. You have to realize where you've been before so that you can start nurturing who you are becoming. So when protecting your artist child as it is trying to blossom, as it is learning how to walk, how to crawl, you have to allow it to be a beginner, and you have to prevent yourself from facing comparison and judgment and all of those things that might hold you back or get you stuck again. So when you are in that transition, you have to also be aware that mistakes are necessary. How do you feel about that one? Mistakes are necessary. We get so caught up in perfection. We believe that we can't put anything out into the world, into the universe, unless it is perfect. But in reality, nothing is perfect. It is all about progression over perfection. Taking those steps, baby steps. They don't have to be big ones, baby steps towards what you were trying to achieve. And as you take those steps, you get closer to what you are trying to do. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. Every time you have a setback, use that. That is a lesson that you are supposed to learn. Don't hold it in. Don't feel like you just messed up the entire world. No, use it as a learning opportunity. So then when you experience something similar, you have a backlog of, oh, I remember I experienced that. I went through that. This is what I need to do this time. There are no mistakes. They are just learning opportunities. And then closing out the section about protecting the artist child within, it talks about how it is an awkward, tentative, and embarrassing process. It is impossible to get better and look good at the same time. Are you going to embrace the embarrassing process? Are you going to embrace that it's not going to look good? When I first started making content, and oh my gosh, I think it's been 2 years since I've actually started taking it seriously. But my first video, I look back at it and ooh, I cringe. I'm like, what was I doing? But it's a part of the learning process. You start at your first one, and then once you hit 500 videos or so, it just becomes natural. You have to give yourself the ability to learn and grow. You pick up new techniques, you observe, you watch, you see all the potential, but you won't see it until you actually start. That's the big one. You have to start. So take out the time today and give yourself the permission to be a beginner. Give yourself the permission to have those embarrassing moments. Give yourself the permission to be cringe because you are learning. And then when you hit that point where it just becomes a natural thing, you have a backlog of your journey, of how far you've come. And that helps you see your progress. If you don't start, you won't have anything to show you that this is what it looked like when I first started, and look at where I'm at now. You have that whole timeline mapped out. I always find videos on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. I always find videos where it shows an artist when they started out really young, and they're drawing just little stick figures and little scenes, and then it just shows the progression year after year and how they just blossom, they grow, they learn. It's all about learning. Give yourself the opportunity to learn and grow into who you are meant to be. Okay, so the first two sections are done. We talked about the shadow artist, and we talked about protecting your artist child within. Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes. We're getting into the sections where we are analyzing ourselves and what is preventing us from truly blossoming into who we are meant to be. So, your enemy within, core negative beliefs. And I find it fascinating that she labeled this section your enemy within, because one of my favorite quotes goes, "My biggest enemy is my inner me." We might say that other people are holding us back, that this individual did this, which is making me, but in reality, people are going to say what they're going to say. People are going to do what they're going to do, but it's you in your own head that is truly holding you back. Someone might have said something, but you're internalizing that thought. You're keeping it in there, which is building up those blocks, keeping you stuck and stagnant in the area that you are currently in. So the very first sentence in this section says, most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. Let me just read that again. Most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. That's that false sense of security. That's what I wrote down. False sense of security. Our bodies are so used to us continuing a certain cycle. We're still alive, so our body's like, okay, this is what she needs to do. This is what you need to do because it has kept you safe for this long. It's a fight or flight situation. So when you start to go outside of that natural order, when you try to do something new, your body's like, oh my gosh, they are in danger. They are about to take themselves out. So your body, your mind will do everything in its power to prevent you from doing that new thing because it's trying to protect you, but in reality, it's holding you back. So it's an internal struggle. You're trying to do something new, but your body's like, no, you need to go back here. We know there's safety in here. We know how this situation ends. We can control this. So you have to be aware. So a lot of our fear is of the unknown. Because it is unknown, we don't know what the outcome is truly going to be. But we can't allow the unknown to prevent us from taking those next steps. I always find it so fascinating that in our minds, when we are faced with uncertainty, we naturally go to the negative side effect. Like, if I do this, oh, this bad thing is gonna happen. Oh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. But we never take out the time to think, if I do this, what are the positive things that can manifest in my life? If I step out of my comfort zone, what are the positive things that will occur in my life? If you focus on the positive, your life, it will pivot that way. But if you focus on the negative, you are either going to stay stagnant and be like, oh, it's not even worth it. Or you're going to unintentionally manifest the negative things in your life. Improve your negative self-beliefs right. But we don't want to do that. We're not doing that anymore. So then this section, it talks about common negative beliefs that we say in our heads. So some ones that I kind of highlighted was, I will abandon my friends and family. That hit home for me because sometimes I will stop my own growth because I feel like I'm outgrowing people. But I have to realize that as I am growing, as I'm evolving, if that individual was meant to stay in my life, they will grow with me. They will see me moving, and that might inspire something in them. But then also, there's the point that people are in our lives for different reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. If they are meant to just be in my life for that moment, I have to let that be. I can't hold on to somebody and grow at the same time. That's just like the metaphor about being in an elevator. Sometimes you just gotta let people off at their floors. You gotta let them off. Don't hold on because you're supposed to be hitting the top. And by you holding on and procrastinating and waiting for them to mature and rise to that level, you are holding yourself back. So people will grow with you if they are meant to. That's their journey. We're focusing on our journey, what is meant for us. So the next thing I had put, I will do bad work and not know it and look like a fool. Who is scared to look like a fool? That it's going back to that embarrassment, not feeling comfortable to not know, to look or be a beginner. But it's all about a process. It's all about growing. You're gonna look foolish sometimes. It's gonna be cringe, but it's all about the journey. And then another one, I feel bad because I don't deserve to be successful. Realize that you deserve it. Realize that if you desire something in life and it is aligned with God's will, you deserve it. You deserve it. So it kind of led me into something else that I had wrote down here. So those were some of the negative core beliefs that are notated in the book. But of course, there's others. We have some that we internalize ourselves. But I had wrote that negative beliefs are just us taking on the projected fears of others. Sometimes these negative beliefs aren't even things that we necessarily think about ourselves, but we've heard it so many times. We've heard it from people that have meant so much to us that we form that a part of our identity. But with this, we have to understand that those are beliefs, not facts. Those are beliefs, not facts. You cannot tie yourselves to those thoughts. And you have to unpackage them and realize what you truly feel about yourself. You are not a failure. You can accomplish anything you put your mind to. You have to redefine yourself for yourself and get all of that negative energy and beliefs out of your head. So the next section that I ended up highlighting in the negative beliefs part is that what you are is scared. Core negatives keep you scared. When you are in a realm of fear, when you are scared, that's when your fight or flight kicks in. That's where you just do whenever you're not thinking. You're not really taking in consideration what's going on around you. When you stay scared, you stay stuck. Sometimes we freeze, fight or flight or freeze. That's the three. And I know for me, when I'm in an area of being fearful or being scared, I freeze. I freeze up. I get stuck. I cannot see the next step in front of me. But once you realize that those are negative beliefs and that's not truly what I believe in myself, that's when you are able to step outside of that. And this section kind of ends out with this one quote that I ended up highlighting. And let me take a step back. Let me kind of read the entire section so you can get like the bigger understanding of it. So, stripped to their essence, our multiple negative beliefs reveal a central negative belief. We must trade one good, beloved dream for another. In other words, if being an artist seems too good to be true to you, you will devise a price tag for it that strikes you as unpayable. Hence, you remain locked. Do you feel that you cannot have both? That you are limited to either choice A or choice B? That if you decide to take this next step in fulfilling your purpose, being who you are meant to be, that you have to let go of something else? Now, the one thing that I have learned, especially about my God, is that He has provided us a life of abundance. That if it is in alignment with His will for our lives, there is no limitation on what can be possible. That we can have both. We can multiply. We can have options. But we have to understand that for ourselves, that what we are working towards, we can achieve it. We can have it. We deserve it. And we have to continue to flow within that energy. So that was that section about negative beliefs. That is kind of what it encompasses off. There's no trade-off. You can have both and understand that. So the last section is talking about affirmative weapons and how you can move and be successful when you have these negative beliefs. This is your protection. This is what you can do to counteract those negative thoughts. So one section that I ended up highlighting says, affirmations help achieve a sense of safety and hope. And that kind of reminded me of this affirmation that I have on my car visor. And honestly, let me go ahead and read it to you, because having that sense of safety Insecurity is so important as you are navigating and figuring out and pinpointing and discovering who you are meant to be. So the affirmation goes like this, and I ended up finding this from a video that I ended up watching, and it says, "All is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. And out of this situation, this so-called problem, only good will come, and I am safe." I am safe. That no matter what I go through, no matter what situation that I'm about to face, that I am safe and all is good. So having those affirmations, having those mottos that you say to yourself to remind yourself where you are and where you're going, and that you are fully protected, is so important. So in this section, it pinpoints personal blurts. So as you are saying these affirmations, as you are repeating them, there's going to be little tiny thoughts that come out. And those are your blurts. Those are things that are trying to get you to step back. That's the negativity piling back up. Like, oh, she thinks she got it. She think that she can do this. She's not enough. She can't do that. I don't know who told her that. Just all those little tiny negative things that pop up in your head. And in this section, it wants you to list out your personal blurts. So as you are saying those affirmations, as you are figuring out, write them down. So a few of the blurts that kind of came across my mind as I was repeating some of my affirmations, it was, "You can't do it." It was, "You're not talented enough." It was, "No one is going to listen to you." "You can't speak correctly." Just all these little things that came up. And the crazy part about it is that our personal blurts are sometimes voices from the people around you. And sometimes you can't even remember exactly who the person was, but those words stuck. That emotion stuck. So as you are trying to progress and benefit yourself, you are still surrounded by their voices, by their negativity. And this section talks about how we have to transform those blurts into our affirmations. So I listed off a few that were my blurts, and now I'm going to list off some of the affirmations that I created based on those same concepts. So when the idea of "I can't do it" comes up, my affirmation says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Mic drop. That's all I need to say. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Another one that I put, "God's timing for my life is perfect timing." I'm not behind. I haven't wasted my time. God's timing is perfect timing. And then in terms of no one listening or me speaking, I had put, "There is power in my voice, and I will use it to fulfill God's will." With God's protection, with God's guidance, you're not going to take my voice away from me. I'm going to use it in order to fulfill God's will for my life. Another one, when I feel like I'm a failure, I'm going to get rejected, redirection is God's protection. If I am given an opportunity and it goes south, God didn't want me to take that one. That is his redirection to protect me from something that I can't see. So I'm gonna praise him. I'm gonna thank him for that and see where the next steps take me. So having those affirmations, especially affirmations that are kind of reflecting the negative blurts that you have in your mind, it allows you to see the new perspective. It allows you to take a new perspective on your life. And in the book, it also gives you a few affirmations to keep in mind if you can't think of your own at this moment. But some of them that I end up highlighting are: my creativity heals myself and others. Ooh, that's a big one. It also says, through the use of my creativity, I serve God. Next one, my creativity leads me to forgiveness and self-forgiveness. I had to highlight that one. Forgiveness and self-forgiveness. And I created a video on this previously, but let's talk about it a little bit. Have you taken out the time to forgive yourself for the choices that you've previously made, for the mistakes that have happened? Those are just weights that you were carrying on your back as you were trying to progress, as you were trying to move and grow into who you are meant to be. You cannot allow that to stop you. When you carry any form of negativity, any form of negative self-talk, any form of hurt with you as you are trying to grow, you are not growing at the speed that you should. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself that you made certain decisions based on the knowledge that you had at that time, that you made the best choice that you could. And now you have that information. So if you were ever given a similar situation, you know how you will handle it now. But you can't put all that pressure and weight on yourself. So that right there encompasses the Artist's Way week 1. And what I really, really love about this book so far is how it highlights how God is the first creator, how we can channel the energy and the vibrations from Him to propel our own lives. That having a connection with Him and that energy, it allows for us to dissect the areas that we need to grow in and see how His will transfer into our lives. So my action item for you would be to sit down and figure out what are some of your personal blurts, and comment one down below. And with that, I want you to transform it into a positive affirmation. So what is the negative blurt? And then what have you made an affirmation from that? Because we are focused on growing, on reaching our goals and dissecting who we are right now so that we can blossom into who we are meant to be. We're not holding ourselves back. We are taking out the time to figure out how we can be the best versions of ourselves in this moment. So if you stayed to the end of this video, thank you so much. Please be on the lookout for week 2, where we are going to, let me find the page, what are we going to be discussing then? So week 2, we are going to be discussing recovering a sense of identity. Now, you don't want to miss that one, so be on the lookout for it. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. You got this.